Real Country 1430 AM and 1073 FM WRDN. This is the WRDN Morning Farm Report. And joining us this morning is Wisconsin Agriculture Secretary Designee Randy Romanski. And we're going to talk about the proposed budget for agriculture in part of the governor's budget proposal. And our newsmaker interviews are brought to you in part by A&J Agronomy, Synergy Co-op, Osteoplastics, Enibus Silo, the Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley, and Compeer Financial. Randy, thanks for joining us. I know that with the governor's proposal, at least when it comes to agriculture, there's a lot of different items he would like to work on. One of them is the extension service and kind of reverse some of the cuts from extension service.
That's right, Brian. We're really excited about the budget proposal that Governor Evers has rolled out. It's a substantial investment in agriculture across the board, and it's clearly a good time. It's always a good time to invest in agriculture in Wisconsin, but clearly as we come out of the pandemic and move to recovery, it's important to make these investments in Wisconsin's agriculture economy. You hit on a really important point, Brian. One of the things that we've seen over the course of time is that there have been some cuts to the resources available through the university and UW Extension. So we are really pleased that the governor has proposed an increase in extension program funding. Now this is proposed to go to UW Extension specialists and county agents who provide both on the ground technical assistance and research to support producers throughout Wisconsin. So this is a really good and timely investment in an important resource for Wisconsin.
Now, with that funding, will some of that funding then be, because the counties have to pay for part of the agent's salary, and so obviously a lot of counties right now, Pepin County included, might be a little bit having some issues because of COVID. So is some of that money then going to be designated that, okay, it either reduces the costs for the counties or takes over more of the costs? How would that work?
Ultimately, we'll see what happens as we work through the budget process, Brian. So what we have right now is the governor is rolling out his budget. He'll obviously have to work with the legislature, and so we don't know what the final funding package looks like. But the good news on the front end is that he's proposing making that investment. I would also say that here's an opportunity for some bipartisan support. I know previously there are members of the legislature who have suggested providing some funding increases for extension as well. So I think we'll see what that final package looks like as we move forward, Brian. But the good news is the governor believes that we should have some additional resources out there, boots on the ground, working with farmers, and at the same time creating some additional research capacity for the state.
Talking with Wisconsin Agriculture Secretary Designee Randy Romanski this morning. Randy, the governor also in this part of the budget for agriculture wants to have more funding to help with farmer mental health, because that is a huge issue, and really mental health issues in all of rural Wisconsin. Tell us a little bit more on that.
Yes, we appreciate Governor Evers' continued investment in mental health funding as a resource. For the Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection, we don't provide the mental health programming, but we connect farmers to that really important resource. Brian, as you know, that stress level is real in rural Wisconsin. And what we want to make sure farmers know is that there are resources available. We have a 24/7 hotline available, so farmers can call at any time if they need help and assistance. We have a telecounseling service as well for those who are seeking help. And of course, we have mental health counseling vouchers that we make available. Again, we don't provide the mental health services, but we connect farmers to somebody who can help. And we're not telling people they have to call, but if you're feeling like that you're having challenges, this is something that's available. One of the things we found is that this is programming that was made available as a result of funding that was included in the last governor's budget, and the legislature also approved it. And the governor is proposing that we renew that. The other thing Governor Evers has proposed in this budget, Brian, is that he would create programming closer to the source. So in other words, what I'm saying there is he's creating new regional farmer mental health programs, which will increase farmers' access to these mental health support services. It'll help coordinate local and regional peer support programs, because a lot of times it's important for farmers to hear from other farmers and have a support network. It'll also provide counseling assistance to Wisconsin farmers. The goal here with this regional program, Brian, is to get the resources closer to the farmers and break down some of those barriers. There are people who are here to help, and it's important that that we have the ability to get people access to those resources.
Talking with Wisconsin Agriculture Secretary Designee Randy Romanski this morning, talking about the governor's budget proposal and how it would affect agriculture. Randy, the dairy industry obviously still number one in agriculture in Wisconsin, so there's a lot of different things for dairy in this proposal to help out the smaller dairy farms, to also kind of expand demand and all of that. Explain that.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. There are some exciting investments here. You mentioned dairy. We are America's dairy land, so that's clearly an important infrastructure to invest in. Um, it's also a key aspect that Wisconsin agriculture is a vital employer. About 1 in 9 people in the state working in a job related to agriculture are in a job related to agriculture. So when the governor was putting together his budget, he wanted to invest in our strengths. Clearly, dairy and processing are a strength for Wisconsin. And so the governor wants to build on the success of a program that we currently have called the Dairy Processor Grant Program. He's going to increase a substantial amount of money for that program over time. Now, what that does, Brian, is it strategically invests in Wisconsin dairy processors. It helps them support innovation, create jobs, and build competitiveness in one of our state's signature industries. So, the program we have is well received. In fact, it's so well received that we typically receive a lot more requests for funding than we have funding available. That means that there's unmet need out there. There are dairy processors that are ready to make that investment, that are ready to create jobs, that are ready to, and they don't have access to the kind of resources they need. The governor is going to provide them some additional resources there. The other thing that we're excited about is something called the Wisconsin Initiative for Agricultural Exports. The goal there is to boost export opportunities for Wisconsin's world-class agricultural products. Clearly, dairy is going to be an important part of that, but Wisconsin grows, raises, and produces a wide variety of products, and we're hopeful that this proposal will see bipartisan support, and we'll be able to make those investments in our agriculture industry. So we're excited about that. That's developing a international market, but it's also helpful. The governor is proposing a connection to local markets as well. He's proposed an increase in the Buy Local, Buy Wisconsin program. What we've seen through the pandemic is that people want to know where their food comes from. They want to have a connection locally, because in some cases they've gone to the store and maybe they don't see the protein sources on the shelf that they may have seen previously, or for a while there was panic purchasing of dairy products. I think making sure that we know that people know they can buy local. That we are proposing to create, at least the governor's proposed funding for the Farm to School program that gets fresh, locally produced food to our schools. While we're investing in international markets, it's also important that we're supporting those local markets as well, because that supports our local farmers.
Finally, Randy, before we let you go, there's a whole bunch of other items in that proposal, but so far it seems like Wisconsin agriculture groups are coming out in support of this.
Yes, it's been there's been a wide range of support from groups across the board, and that's exciting to see. Again, that's a really good indication, Brian, of how in Wisconsin, especially as it relates to agriculture, there's a lot that we agree on collectively. And I think with what the governor's proposed, it's a historic investment in agriculture. It's $43 million over the biennium. I think he's charted a course for additional investment in agriculture that's really going to be well placed. And I am optimistic that we'll see bipartisan support and continuing support from farm groups as we move along. So we're excited. We're willing. We're ready, willing, and able to work with the legislature and the groups to move forward on the things the governor's proposed.
That is Randy Romanski. He is the Agriculture Secretary Designee for the state of Wisconsin. This is the WRDN Morning Farm Report.